My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the pages of that affidavit. Each sentence hit like a gut punch. Lie after lie, twisting Dan into someone he wasn't. You know that feeling when your blood starts boiling so hot you can hear your own pulse in your ears? That was me. I'd always hated liars. But this was a whole new level. Billie Jean hadn't just lied about some petty rumor. She'd taken the stand in a custody battle and written an affidavit meant to destroy a father's chance to see his child. She was playing with a little kid's future just to take sides in a feud that wasn't even hers. Dan and I had been dating for a few months back then. We both worked at this small town bar, sticky floors, dim lights, the kind of place that smelled like spilled beer and regret. That's where Billie Jean worked too. She'd been friends with Dan for years, and supposedly she was still friendly with his ex, Rachel, the mother of his little boy. From the outside, it looked like everyone was civil. Co-parenting, keeping the peace, trying to make it work for the kid's sake. But behind the smiles, Billie Jean had picked her side, and it wasn't Dan's. Dan somehow got a copy of the affidavit. I don't even remember how, maybe through his lawyer, but I'll never forget reading it. She called him irresponsible, said he was drinking too much, that he neglected his son, that Rachel feared for the child's safety when Dan was around. All of it lies. Flat out, bold-faced lies. I knew Dan. He wasn't perfect, but he adored that little boy. He'd skip meals just to buy him new shoes. He'd drive an hour out of his way to make sure he didn't miss his son's bedtime. And here was Billie Jean, turning her back on him for reasons I couldn't even understand. As I sat there, reading those words, my anger simmered into something sharper, something cold and deliberate. I wasn't just mad anymore. I wanted her to understand what it felt like to be betrayed by someone who pretended to be your friend. Now, Billie Jean wasn't exactly loved by everyone at that bar. She had this fake sweetness about her, always smiling to your face, then talking trash the second you turned around. And as it turned out, she had a few enemies. I'd heard whispers that she'd bought a car from some people we all knew, some real sketchy folks, but hadn't been paying them like she was supposed to, the kind of people who didn't take kindly to being stiffed. That's when it clicked. Revenge doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's just about letting karma know where to find its target. So I called them up, told them I came in peace. I wasn't on anyone's side, I said, but I might know how they could get back what was theirs. The guy on the other end didn't even hesitate. He said they'd been trying to track Billie Jean down for weeks, but couldn't find her address. I smiled, because I could fix that. I gave them her info. Name, address, everything. And then I waited. A couple of days later, I was in Dan's car when my phone lit up. Billie Jean. I picked up, trying to sound casual. Her voice came through, sharp and furious. "Someone took my car! It's gone! They just came and towed it right out of my driveway. I have no idea who would do something like this." I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. "Wow," I said, pretending to sound shocked. "That's awful. Do you think it was Robbie?" Robbie was her ex, the only other person who might have had her address. She paused, then snapped. "Ooh, it had to be either you or him. Who else could have done it?" I let out a fake, confused little laugh. "Oh, I don't know, that's so weird," I said in the most unconvincing tone imaginable. I could almost hear her pacing, trying to make sense of it. Dan was sitting next to me in the car, covering his mouth to keep from laughing. We hung up, and for a moment, the two of us just sat there, grinning like idiots. It wasn't just about the car, it was about the principle. Billie Jean had tried to ruin a man's chance to be a father, and now she couldn't even drive to work. Over the next few weeks, things started to unravel for her. She lived an hour from the bar, so without a car, she was stuck. No way to get to her shifts, no one willing to carpool with her because, well, word had gotten around about what she did to Dan. Eventually, she lost her job. Management said they needed someone reliable, someone who could actually show up. I'll admit it, when I heard she'd been let go, I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. Meanwhile, Dan won shared custody. The judge saw through the lies. Billie Jean's so-called affidavit didn't hold up under scrutiny. The truth has a way of cutting through the noise eventually, and this time, it did. watching him come out of that courthouse, holding the court order in his hand, smiling for the first time in months. It felt like the universe had finally balanced the scales. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about taking back control when someone's tried to strip it from you. Billie Jean had played a dirty game, thinking no one would call her out. She underestimated me. She underestimated karma. And to this day, I still wonder if she's ever figured out that it was me who made that call. Even now, when I think about it, I don't feel guilty. Not for a second. She wrote lies to try and separate a father from his child. She deserved worse than losing a car. But life has a funny way of giving people just enough rope to hang themselves with. All I did was hand her the rope. It's been over 5 years, but every now and then, Dan will bring it up, laughing. "You really think she ever put it together?" He'll ask. And I'll smile, shrug, and say, if she did, she never called me about it. Then we just laugh, because in the end, justice doesn't always wear a judge's robe. Sometimes, it wears a sly grin and waits for the perfect moment to strike. If you've ever watched someone get exactly what they deserved, you know that sweet, quiet satisfaction I'm talking about. That little voice inside that says, yeah, the world's still fair. At least a little. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who pretended to be your friend, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories where justice isn't just served, it's crafted slow and perfect. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Because sometimes the best stories aren't just about payback. They're about reclaiming your power.